I am 79 years old and I have been sitting with this for a while now, trying to figure out if there was ever a right time to say it. I don't think there is. So I'm just going to say it. My doctor warned me. At 50, he sat across from me in a small office with a window that looked out onto a parking lot, and he told me that my blood pressure was too high, that my cholesterol numbers were moving in the wrong direction, and that if I didn't make some changes, my body would eventually make them for me. He wasn't dramatic about it. He was just a man doing his job. He handed me a pamphlet and said we should talk about lifestyle changes at my next visit. I never scheduled the next visit. Not right away. I kept meaning to. I had a project at work that needed finishing, and then my daughter's wedding was coming up, and then the holidays, and then I just stopped thinking about it the way you stop thinking about a bill you've put in a drawer. It doesn't disappear, it just waits. That was 1995. I was 50 years old, and I felt fine. That's the thing. Nobody tells you about the body when it's quietly going wrong. It doesn't feel like anything at first. You wake up, you get dressed, you go to work. You feel tired, but everyone feels tired. You feel a little short of breath climbing stairs, but you're getting older. That's normal, right? You convince yourself it's normal because you need it to be. I worked in logistics for most of my life. Scheduling, inventory, keeping things moving. I was good at it. I worked long hours because that's what the job asked for, and I believed, the way a lot of men my generation believed, that working hard was the same thing as being responsible, as taking care of your family. I brought home a paycheck. I showed up. I thought that was what a body was for. I ate the way a person eats when they're not paying attention. Quick meals, heavy food. I smoked for about 12 years, quit in my early 40s, so I always thought I'd gotten ahead of that one at least. I drank moderately, nothing alarming. I told myself I didn't have any of the real habits, the dangerous ones, and so I wasn't in danger. That's a very comfortable thing to believe, and I believed it for a long time. Sleep was something that happened when work allowed it. I ran on 6 hours most nights, sometimes less. I thought the men who needed 8 hours were soft. I thought rest was a reward you earned at retirement. I was going to rest then. I kept telling my wife that. Just a few more years and then we'll slow down. Just a few more years. My wife used to leave the pamphlet from the doctor on the kitchen counter. She didn't say anything about it. She just left it there, the way she left things she wanted me to notice without making it a fight. I would move it. I would set it under other papers. Eventually it would disappear and neither of us would mention it. The 50s passed. The 60s came. I had a mild event, they called it. At 63, a small warning. I was sitting at my desk and my left arm felt strange and I thought I'd slept on it wrong. My chest felt tight in a way I described to myself as stress. I took an antacid. I went home. My wife asked if I was all right and I said I was tired. I went to bed. I didn't tell anyone about that for almost 2 years. When I finally mentioned it to a doctor during a routine exam, more tests followed. And then more conversations in small offices with windows looking out onto parking lots. And this time there were more pamphlets. There were also medications, 4 of them at first, then 6. I have 8 now. I take them every morning with a glass of water and I know all their names the way you eventually learn the names of the streets in a neighborhood you never meant to live in. At 67 I had a proper cardiac event, not a mild one, the real thing. I remember the ambulance and the ceiling of the hospital hallway moving above me as they wheeled me in, and my wife's face in the waiting room afterward, which is a face I hope I never have to describe to anyone, because there are no words for it that don't feel insufficient. I survived. I was grateful. I told myself that I'd been given time and I was going to use it properly. And I did make changes. I made all the changes they told me to make, finally, at 67, with whatever was left. Better food, walking every day, the medications, regular checkups, all of it. I did everything right. But here is what they don't put in the pamphlets. The damage that accumulates over decades doesn't reverse itself because you finally decided to behave. It stays. It becomes the architecture of your body going forward. My heart works now, but it works like a machine that has been running too hard for too long. It does the job, but you can feel the effort in a way you couldn't before. I get winded. I tire quickly. There are things I can no longer do that I assumed I would always be able to do, and I made that assumption so completely, so unconsciously, that I never even thought of them as things I might lose. I can't work in the garden the way I used to. I used to spend whole Saturdays out there. Now I do 20 minutes and I have to sit down. My wife does most of it now and she never complains about it, not once, and that somehow makes it harder to bear than if she did. I can't travel the way we planned. We had a list. A whole list we made when the kids were grown. Places we were going to go when we had the time and the money and the freedom. We had the time. We had the money. And then my health made the list into something we look at differently now. Some of those places we've crossed off. Others we keep on there as a kind of hope, though I think we both know. I am dependent in ways I never imagined I would be. Not completely, not yet. But more than I was, more than I should be at 79. I have friends who are 79 and still hiking, still driving long distances, still talking about what they're going to do next, and I am happy for them. I am genuinely happy for them. But there is something that sits alongside that happiness that I don't have a clean name for. I think about the appointment I didn't schedule. I think about the pamphlet in the drawer. I think about the arm that felt strange and the antacid I took and the bed I went to. I think about the years I spent being productive, being reliable, being the kind of man who got things done, while my body was quietly sending up signals I was too busy to read. I don't tell this to young people as a lecture. I'm not trying to frighten anyone. I just know that when I was 50 and a doctor handed me a pamphlet, I felt fine. I felt capable. I felt like I had time. And all of those things were true in the moment, and none of them turned out to matter. If you have a number that's been running high for a while, go back to the doctor. If you've been meaning to get something checked and you keep moving the appointment, stop moving it. If you're sleeping badly and telling yourself that everyone sleeps badly, that's not nothing. That's your body asking for something it needs. If you've been under the kind of stress that sits in your chest and never fully leaves, that accumulates, it doesn't pass through, it stays. These are not things I read somewhere. These are things I know the way you know the weight of something you've been carrying for a long time. I live a quiet life now, smaller than I imagined. My wife and I eat dinner early and watch things on television, and sometimes we sit without talking, and that's all right. There are grandchildren. There is still good in the days, real good, and I don't want to take that away from what I've said here. I am not telling you that my life is ruined. It isn't. But it is shaped by what I didn't do, and that shaping is permanent. That's the part that took me a long time to accept. Not that I made mistakes, everyone makes mistakes, but that some of the consequences of those mistakes are simply what my life is now. There's no correcting it, there's only living inside it. I'm 79 years old. My doctor warned me at 50. I wish, with everything I have, that I had been the kind of man who listened. If any part of this stayed with you, I'd be glad to know. Not because I need to hear it, but because it would mean this was worth saying.